Hi there, I'm glad you've all joined to listen to my talk about developer experience of documentation. I find this a very underestimated topic, and that's also the reason why I want to highlight this topic. The talk will introduce you to the 4 pillars I use to measure and to improve the developer experience of documentation. So, who am I and what do I do? I am a developer advocate at Humanitech. And Humanitech is building the fastest way to create an internal developer platform or an IDP. You can think of an IDP as a platform as a service solution like Heroku, but unlike a traditional PaaS solution, it doesn't limit you to a specific stack and you can work with any of the tech and tools you're already using. So the goal of an IDP is twofold: relieve the pressure on the ops team and provide an abstraction layer between the rest of the development team and your underlying infrastructure. So in short, Humanitech is the fastest way for teams to build their own IDP. And to have a quick word about myself, I am a technical writer who worked as a software engineer for more than 4 years in the blockchain industry, and I finally picked up my passion for developer marketing and documentation strategy. So without further ado, let's get started. It's always a good idea to start with a quote, so here's one from Daniela Moril. Your documentation is not just a secondary thing, it's literally, probably, the pages that are visited the most on your website. With this quote, I want to highlight that you should think about your documentation as a product and also treat it that way. Track users, see where they spend time, and try to learn the patterns on how they navigate your documentation or even where they spend time. All this data can help you to improve your documentation and improve the developer experience. To reinforce my statement, I want to highlight this research done by Zendesk, and this shows the importance of customer experience. So according to Zendesk, 50% of your customers, or in this case developers, will leave your product after a single bad experience. And this even increases to 80% when they have a second bad experience. So you get my point why your documentation deserves some love? Good. Let's continue. In this talk, I will introduce you to 4 pillars to improve documentation. First of all, providing a clear structure will help your developers to find the golden path. How search analytics can help you to implement a continuous improvement process. Why interactivity matters to assist developers to learn about your product and have a better positive experience. And lastly, a common one, why feedback matters and how you can collect it. So let's get started. Firstly, providing a clear structure is one of my favorites. And for this one, I want to reference to the Divio documentation system. You can Google for the search term and the first blog that pops up is the right one. So this system tries to categorize content for your documentation into 4, actually 5 categories. So the first one is tutorials, and tutorials are designed to be learning oriented. They take you from the start and they help you to build a complete solution. And on the other side, we have how-to guides. They are problem oriented. In comparison to tutorials, they will dive into a specific problem and help you to get deeper knowledge on the specific problem. So they're not focusing on delivering a complete solution. Next, we also have explanations. Those are small explanatory boxes you can include in your tutorials or guides, and they will clarify a certain topic or a term. For example, you're a continuous integration product and you want to include a small text box that explains what is continuous delivery. Instead of deviating from your flow from your tutorial, you can just add this explanation box inside of it so you don't have to break the consistent path. So this is also maybe an interesting tip for technical writing. Don't try to create too many deviations in your tutorial. Try to follow like one strict line, and explanations can help with this. And lastly, we have the reference documentation. This is a common principle where we have an API reference or an SDK reference. For example, a user wants to know what the input parameters are for a specific function, or what the headers are that an API endpoint accepts. And lastly, optionally, we can also define a glossary. This is most useful when you have a product that is quite technical and introduces many new terms. Instead of adding a lot of explanation boxes to your content or to your tutorials, you can aggregate all of these explanations inside of a glossary. Then you don't have to include explanations every time, but you can also link to the glossary to reduce the size of your tutorial. Good, that was the first point. So the next one is search analytics. And I really like this one because it can reveal a lot of insights about your users, their behavior, and also their information needs. Common search engines that I like are Millisearch and Algolia, and they can help you to measure a couple of metrics. So the first one, we can use the number of times a keyword is searched to determine the priority of content and how you should rank your tutorials in your navigation. You also have the number of successful searches. This can indicate what content is really important to developers, or also reveal what problems they have and what content they're always looking for. And this is an important one, the number of unsuccessful searches. I really hate it when I look up something in the documentation and I don't find any answer. This means there is clearly content missing in your documentation, or it's possible that there is a common misunderstanding about your product that you need to solve. And lastly, this might sound like a more odd one, the click position. So when you search something via the search box, you will get a list of search results, and search engines can track the average click position in this results list. So for example, someone looks for authentication examples, and while your examples page should pop up as a first result, it might pop up as a fourth result. And by measuring the click position, we can learn that this content isn't listed properly in your search results. For example, it always appears on the fourth position. And then we can start playing with the ranking rules. Both of these search engines allow you to change the ranking rules to make the right content pop up in the first position or the second position. For data-driven tech startups, these search analytics are really important to create a continuous improvement process, and they can look at this every 2 weeks, for example, and see how they can start improving their documentation by measuring what the users are looking for. So next, interactivity. I personally value a really nice interactive tutorial that doesn't require me to complete an annoying setup, and it allows me to more quickly explore the product. And we have several options to do this. A common one is providing a code playground or a sandbox. We can also provide test data or default accounts, so the user doesn't have to prepare all of this data, but can immediately explore it. And lastly, we can even try to allow the user to explore the product with real data. Yet, this method only works for products with an existing user base or very popular products. But let me show you some examples. So first, let's get to Stripe. Stripe does an amazing job at creating interactive tutorials. And as you can see in this GIF, when you click a certain section in the documentation, the code playground will navigate to the right page and even highlight the relevant code section. On top of that, you can change parameters like the CSS variables, or you can say, I want to add an extra input field, for example here, an email field. And all of this happens in real time in your playground, and you can see how the UI will look like. The next example shows you how you can work with test data. This is again from Stripe. They have some prepared accounts for you that help you to see the successful flow, a failure flow, or even an authentication failure flow. So you can just select the account you want and try out the flow, and then you see, okay, it's a success, and you can see how it affects the UI. And lastly, Dropbox. They allow you to connect your account to this example so you can try out any of the API requests on your own data. For example, I don't have any files in my Dropbox account, and I want to check this by sending a request. And as you can see in the GIF, I don't have any files in the request. This is really nice because I can immediately explore the API on my own data, so I can explore my use case and see if it will work or not. As a last pillar, I want to introduce you to user feedback. It's a common pillar, but yet it's an important one. The first point of user feedback or metrics that we want to track is the time that it takes to complete your Getting Started guide. We want this guide to be as short as possible to provide the user with a meaningful success moment while still showing as much of the features of our product as possible. Common ways to collect user feedback are providing feedback buttons or a feedback form. You can have a comment section where users can ask questions or discuss certain parts of your tutorial, and this acts as a great input to further optimize the article, for example, what information is missing. And then Product Board. Product Board is a tool where users can submit requests, for example, feature requests, but they can also submit content requests. They just have to leave their email, and then they can make a new request, and the team can then use this as a prioritization board. And for me personally, it's a great way to be more in touch with your community and to really get to know what the community wants. And lastly, user testing. It is a time-consuming approach, but it can still show you a lot of info about how the user is interacting with your documentation and if they can follow the golden path you have designed throughout your documentation. So let's look quickly at some examples of capturing user feedback. So in this example, you can see the common yes, no helpful buttons from DigitalOcean. On the left, you also see the section where you can ask a question or leave a comment. And the right screenshot shows you the feedback form that Stripe implements. There is no need to leave any data. You can just directly submit feedback. That's really nice. And here is also a product board by Millisearch. They mainly use it for capturing feature requests, and they allow users to vote on feature requests. So it really becomes a prioritization board. And you can see like, okay, this ID has 6 upvotes, so we should focus on it because the community would really like to see this feature implemented. But as I said, you can also use it for tutorials. So what did we learn today? To recap, provide a clear structure, and this will help your users to navigate the golden path as accurately as possible. Make sure to capture search analytics to implement a continuous improvement process for your documentation. Make it as easy as possible for developers to try out code and get this positive first contact point. And lastly, don't forget to capture user feedback. If you want to get in touch with Humanitech or with myself, the socials are on the right of the screen. And to finish this presentation, I had to include a Giphy. So guys, read the documentation. Thanks for listening.